So we're just starting. It's exactly the 7:30. Atma Namaste to all of you. Good evening. A very warm welcome to this nurturing session. We are so happy that you could join us today. Heal the World Pranic Healing Centre welcomes all of you. We are a small group of Pranic healers in Trivandrum under the Vidya Pranic Healing Foundation of Cochin, Kerala. Our aim is to spread the teachings of Grandmaster Choa, our teacher, and we are guided by Kuriachan sir, who is our Managing Trustee of the Vidya Pranic Healing Foundation. Today's topic is very interesting. We'll be talking about pranic healing, how it is a bridge to abundance. And the topic will be taken by Gautam Ailani. In the school of thought of Grandmaster Choa's Pranic Healing, abundance and prosperity is a type of energy, and therefore it follows the principle of energy, such as attraction and repulsion. To achieve a high degree of prosperity and abundance, therefore, there should be enough prosperity energy in you. Today, we'll learn more about this abundance energy from our eminent and successful speaker, Shri Gautam Ailani, who is best suited to speak on this topic. Gautam Ailani is a trustee of the Vidya Pranic Healing Foundation of South Mumbai. He is an electrical engineer by education, a businessman by profession, and a pranic healer by passion. He has learned pranic healing in the year 2007 in West Africa, and since then, pranic healing has become one of the most essential aspects of his life, which has led him to become an instructor of pranic healing. He teaches pranic healing in various countries around the world, such as India, Morocco, Nigeria, Ghana, Israel, and more. He has trained people from all walks of life, such as students and businessmen, doctors, scientists, sportsmen. He loves to read, he loves to cook, and he loves to travel to other countries. So, very warm welcome to you, sir. We will begin today's session with a short invocation prayer led by our dear Kuriachan sir, after which we'll hand over the platform to Gautam. I request each of you to please keep your questions ready, for which we will attempt to clear at the end of the session. I now hand over to Kuriachan sir to lead the invocation prayer. Thank you one and all. Atma Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you, Maya ji. Thank you very much. Okay, be aware of your heart and the crowd. Let us do the salutation to the Supreme God, to the Supreme Being, Divine Father, Divine Mother. Thank you for your great blessings to our beloved teacher, Grandmaster Choa, to Lord Mahaguruji Mailing, to all the great ones, to all the Holy Gurus, Holy Masters, all the saints, to all the archangels, holy angels, angels of joy, happiness, love, and beauty, and spiritual bliss, to our higher soul. Thank you for your great blessings, for divine guidance, for divine love and mercy, for the inner strength to continue with the spiritual practice of illumination and divine oneness, inner beauty for abundance and prosperity, for divine help and protection. Thank you for making this session a wonderful, blissful one. Thank you. With thanks and in full faith, lots of gratitude, respect, and love, we thank you. Namaste, everybody. Thank you. I have also joined with Maya to welcome our dear, great friend, Gautam Ailani. Welcome, sir, and welcome all participants. And I'm very grateful to the team of Trivandrum, Maya ji, Shobha madam, Preeti, Lada madam, everybody, all the participants. Okay. I invite our great speaker without wasting any time. Welcome.
Thank you so
Welcome,
much.
dear
Namaste.
Gautam. Namaste.
So we're good to start?
Yes.
Excellent. So Namaste, everyone. Nice to see all of you. Thank you all for joining in on time. And of course, it'd be nice to see more cameras on if you are appropriately dressed, of course. If you're not dressed well, please don't switch on your camera. I mean, we might need healing after that. But great. Excellent. So before we start today's session, I'd just like to know how many of you are already Pranic Healers, have already learned Pranic Healing before, any of the courses, maybe the basic, the advanced. So if you could just raise your hand or raise your, what we call virtual hand for that matter. Okay, of course, some of you. Okay, maybe I should have asked how many of you are non-Pranic Healers. I see a lot of Pranic Healers over here. So for Pranic Healers, some of the topics that we might talk about today might be something you know already, because of course this topic is open, this talk is open to the public. So we can't go into techniques of Pranic Healing in terms of what we can apply. But maybe even though we might know Pranic Healing already, maybe this session might help to look at Pranic Healing in a slightly different way. Yes? So as Mayaji was sharing, and by the way, I'd like to thank the center led by Mayaji and of course the entire foundation in Cochin, Mr. Varghese, for organizing this and giving me this opportunity. I think I've been to Kerala once in my life when I was studying in Manipal in South India. We went for a school trip once, but I think that's all, maybe just a few days. So I haven't been there. So at least virtually we're part of the state of Kerala, right? So it's wonderful to have all of you. Thank you for organizing this. So as Mayaji was sharing, I learned Pranic Healing when I was in Africa, and I was still a student then. I was in my engineering college, and I initially thought Pranic Healing is more of a healing technique because my family had learned it and they used to use it to heal themselves, for treating problems, physical problems. So initially I thought, I'm a young guy. I was fit, I was okay. So I thought, I don't really need this. Why is my family asking me to learn Pranic Healing? It's not really for me. It was soon after doing the course that I realized that there is much more to Pranic Healing than just healing the body. That's just the first step. Because of course, when the body is sick, when the body is not well, we can't really do anything else. And I think many of us have experienced this during this pandemic time, that our health is one of the most important and crucial aspects of our life. When there's no health, you can't work. When there's no health, you can't even help your loved ones. When there's no health, you can't even enjoy the wealth and the prosperity you've accumulated. And many of you who are Pranic Healers, you know that if your body's not healthy, you can't even do certain meditations and certain higher practices. So of course, our health is very, very important. And that's the focus of Pranic Healing. But soon after taking the courses, I realized that there's much more to Pranic Healing than just good health. And even there's much more than just the spiritual aspect, the spiritual development part. And the reason is, one of the things we learned from Pranic Healing that Master Choa, the founder, he shared was, he said that everything is energy. Everything is energy. So this body energy, this mobile phone is energy, the pizza, the food. I think we love appam in Kerala. No? It's one of my favorite things, by the way, especially with the egg on top. That is energy. This internet is energy. Everything is energy. So the same way, money is energy. Prosperity is energy. Success is energy. Our goals, our wishes, our desires, that's also a form of energy. So when I sort of got a little bit of an understanding of that, I realized that it makes sense to learn Pranic Healing because Pranic Healing is a school of energy. So just like, we send our children to school, and I'm sure we've all been to school, we go to school to learn how to deal with life. Yes, that's why we learn. That's why we go to school. We learn different subjects that are supposed to give us the skills to be able to be successful in our life. That's one of the primary objectives of going to school. Now, that life is a lot to do with the physical world, physical job, physical work, dealing with people in the body. But when you understand that everything has an energy counterpart, there's an energy aspect, it's also necessary to know how the energy aspect can also influence the physical world around us. And when we know that, we have in a way, I would say we also have an added advantage. You see, the world today is so competitive. It's much, it's so cutthroat. We're dealing with stress. We're dealing with all kinds of challenges and problems. So any advantage that we can have, any tool or technique that we can have to make our lives easier and better is something that is priceless. So Pranic Healing provides that. It gives us the energy understanding or the energy aspect of what's happening in the world around us. So that's why we call it a school of energy. So when we understand how energy works, how our body functions, how it impacts the different areas of our life, then we can decide, okay, you know what? I can use this knowledge of energy to improve my relationships with people. I can use this knowledge of energy to improve my business or my success. Why? Because everything is energy. And that's what inspired me actually to study more in pranic healing and learn this much more. It wasn't that my body was sick. It was more that I realized that this is really useful to be successful in life, to have abundance, and also to have a wonderful life, to have a purpose. So, maybe some of us can look at pranic healing as something more than just healing the body. All right. So the topic for today is pranic healing as what we call a bridge to abundance, or sometimes we can even call it success. Yes. So just give me one moment. I will share my screen to be able to share my presentation. Of course, we will give time later for questions if you have any questions. There we go. Okay, so first of all, we'd like to introduce the founder of Pranic Healing. So of course, if you're a Pranic Healer, you know Master Choa already. But just in case you have not yet taken Pranic Healing courses, everything that we share about Pranic Healing comes from our teacher, Master Choa. Now, Master Choa himself was a very successful person, not only in the field of spirituality, but as many of you know, he was a highly successful businessman. He was actually a scientist, a chemical engineer. He was a family man, he was a philanthropist, and he was a very successful author, writing many books on pranic healing and the spiritual teachings. And of course, as we know, he's our beloved teacher. So everything that basically personally myself, and I'm sure many of us in the group, that we know about, in a way, energy and all, comes from Master Choa. So all credit goes to him. And of course, as we talk about the session today, I might share some of my understandings on certain things that he has taught us. So what I share, which is my understanding, I would request you not to just believe it blindly. Don't just say, okay, Mr. Gautam said this, so this is the truth. Nothing like that. In the pranic healing system, we always encourage people to practice what we call intelligent evaluation. So that's one of the specialties of Master Choa. He always encouraged us to think, not just to accept things, but to think about it and try to validate it ourselves, to experiment. So I think that was the engineer aspect in him. Yes. So with everything concerning pranic healing, and in general with life, it's good always to analyze and experiment. Then you decide if it makes sense or not. All right, good. Now, I'd like to ask all of you a question before we go on. How would you define success or abundance? Let's talk about success. How would you define success? What, according to you, is a definition of success? And you can type in the chat, or you can even unmute yourself. So if you thought it's only me going to be talking, nothing like that. I'm expecting you also to give me your insights. So how would you define success or abundance? So Vidya says an elongated lifespan. Interesting. Reaching a goal, achieving goals by Rupal. That's quite a common understanding. Success is being happy at the end of the day. Wonderful. Heart-filled joy. Success is happiness. I'm just reading some of the comments in the chat. Happiness, peaceful life, achieving what one desires. Fair enough. Living happiness, fulfilling dreams, success, achieving goals. So it's very interesting. Many of you are sharing similar aspects, but looking at it from different ways. So some of you are saying it's achieving goals. Some of you are saying it's being happy, living a content life. For some of you, if I'm looking at the chat, it's the spiritual aspect of it, finding yourself. So different aspects or different ways of looking at success. So before we get into defining what is success or what is abundance, we look at it from a different angle. Let's talk about what it's not. Okay. Why? Because some people have certain misconceptions during certain times. So number one, I think, this is my opinion, that success is not a competition. Because nowadays, in the rat race on the world, it's a lot about what the other person has or what the other person has accomplished. Now, maybe many of us have moved away from the material, the really material things. It's not about our neighbor having a bigger car. It's not about our colleague getting a promotion and we are not getting it. Maybe some of us are beyond that. But sometimes it's more to do even with love. That person is liked more by other people. We are not as popular as other people. So they might be more successful. Or maybe, for example, this person has, greater relationships, or this person is more healthier. This person does so much of exercise, they're able to run a marathon, so they're more successful. I am not. And sometimes, especially for those of you who are pranic healers, It's more like this person has done this many courses, or this person has this many levels of Hatha Yoga, so they are more successful. So according to me, success is not defined, a person's individual success is not defined by what others are achieving, but it's more to do with where we are. So one of the things that Master Choa always asks us to evaluate is, where were you and where do you want to be? Not in relation to the people around you, but in relation to who you were earlier. And I'll give you a very simple example. So one of the things we talk about in Pranic Healing is what we call character building, to become a better person, to remove certain weaknesses that we have and try to become, more loving, more kind, more patient, more intelligent. So one of the common problems or challenges or weaknesses that many people face is, let's say, anger. Yes. Is there anybody here who does not get angry? Never angry, never angry. 0% anger. Difficult. Now, some of you might think, me, but I think I should ask the question to your family then, because, sometimes the family members pick up the anger more than us. So let's take anger, for example. Now, if you've been working on your anger, you've been saying, I want to be more patient with people. I don't want to get so irritated. And you find that within 1 year's time, your anger has improved 10%. But maybe the people around you, they are much more peaceful, much more calm. Maybe you have a sibling or a brother or sister who's much calmer than you. You cannot judge and say that that person is more successful in mastering anger than you, because you have also achieved a certain degree of success. It's not about the other person. It's about where were you before and how much have you improved now. So one of the biggest mistakes that people make when it comes to being successful or having a lot is they tend to judge how well they have done based on how the people around them are doing. But that is a big, big mistake. So if we want to judge how much we have grown, been more successful, been more abundant, we need to look at where were we before and where are we now in relation to ourselves. So remember one thing, it's not a competition. If it's a competition with our old self, not with the other people around us. Why? Because everybody has their own journey. Okay? So that's the first thing, that success is not. It's not defined by other people. It's not defined by a competition. Unless, of course, you're you're playing a game with somebody. But that's a lower level of success. Now, the second thing, and this is what I picked up from most of you on the chat, is it's not only material. I come across so many people that nowadays when you go to meet them, the first thing they'll ask you is, what do you do? And if you say you're a doctor, you're an engineer, you're a CA, you're this, successful. But that's just your job. That's just what you do to make a living. That doesn't define who you are. So being successful in life is not only defined by necessarily material things. And I'm sure many of you agree with me. And that's why your definition of success included goals, not just physical goals, not just having a certain amount of bank balance or buying these many houses or cars, etc. So we know that success goes beyond the material aspect as well. And by the way, that's something that, the COVID pandemic has really, I think for many of us, has taught us. Because think about it. There are people who had a lot of money, a lot of material resources, but were not able to find a single bed or an oxygen cylinder. Why? Money can't buy everything. Doesn't mean you don't go for money, but just realize that it's not the only benchmark of success. Yes, so we'll talk a little bit more about other types of success and abundance that we should be looking at. And the third thing is, it's not always about quantity. What do we mean by this? Some people have a misconception that abundance, abundance means a lot, having a lot of something, overflowing. It's not only about abundance in terms of quantity or success in terms of quantity. Yes, maybe when we're talking about money, definitely it could be quantity, but it's not the same in all cases. Let's look at relationships. There are certain people who have a certain misconception that if you have a lot of friends, you're a very good and successful person in having relationships. Or if a lot of people like you, you have an abundance of love in your life. But I think many of us know that's not the case. You could have a lot of friends externally, but internally, how many people can you really, really count on at difficult times? So success is not necessarily only quantitative, but Master Choa said to also look at things from a qualitative point of view. So even success, even money. Some of us might be financially very rich, but can we consider ourselves successful if we don't have the time to enjoy the money with our family? Is that really successful then? Or are we just rich? That's it. So one of the aspects that I'd like to bring to our attention is, whenever we're trying to define if we have achieved a certain degree of success in our life, let's not only look at it quantitatively, But let's also try and look at it qualitatively. Yes, I have lots of money, but am I able to use the money in a way that improves the quality of my life, bring me inner peace and happiness? Yes, I have done many, many courses of pranic healing. I have a lot of spiritual certificates, but what is the quality of my practice? Am I even practicing one thing really well that is improving the quality of my life? It's not about accumulating certificates. It's about practicing even one thing and doing it well so that life improves. And that's success. That's being, really successful. I think there was I don't know whose quote this was. Maybe Bruce Lee, or one of these martial artists. They said that I don't fear the man who has practiced 10,000 different kicks. Rather, I fear the man that has practiced one kick 10,000 times, because that kick is going to be deadly. So it's not just the volume, it's the quality as well. So whether it's our relationships, whether it's our spiritual development, whether it's our finances, whether it's our health and our life, always look at how can we improve the quality of our life, because that's an important aspect of being abundant and being successful. Yeah. So I'd like to share a small, since it's, we can talk personally over here as well. I'd like to share a small story. So, my parents, when growing up, they were not very wealthy. They came from very humble backgrounds in India. And I remember my mother sharing with me that even though they had very limited means, their home would be the home where people always came to eat and to drink. Even with limited means, they were always feeding people. So they could not feed a lot, but that was a place where people came. So I realized that, maybe financially they didn't have that much money, but they were successful as people in terms of abundance. They had big open hearts. They had an abundance of wealth in that particular sense. Now, when we talk a little bit more about pranic healing, we see how this kind of attitude, this kind of mindset actually attracts material and financial abundance later on. Yes, so it's not only about the size of your pocket, but it's the size of your heart as well. Okay, so always remember looking at the qualitative aspect. Yeah, one kick 10,000 times, exactly. So I hope we don't have to be on the receiving end of that kick anytime. Okay, so these are some parameters by which we can say we don't define success. So how can we, if we have to define success, let's look at success first. How do we define it? According to many of the, oops, my computer has jammed. All right, there we go. So my computer is not being successful in moving to the next one. Okay. So based on a standard definition of success, as many of you shared, it's the accomplishment of an aim or a purpose. Now, what kind of aim, what kind of purpose is what defines whether we're going to have an improved quality of life, or we're just going to be chasing behind things, achieving things which are not long lasting for us. So if our aim or our purpose is to defeat our neighbor because they have a better car, yes, we can achieve success in that sense, but is it going to give us an abundant life? Is it going to improve the quality of our life? Is it going to give us what we truly seek in our life? So to be able to do this, we need to really know what is our aim and our purpose. And that's something we need to introspect. So, many of us in our life, we are living our life almost like we're in a boat, but there's no destination. So how does the boat move? It just randomly moves. It's like life is knocking you around. Sometimes you're happy, sometimes you're sad. Sometimes you get some good news, sometimes you get bad news. Sometimes this is happening, sometimes that's happening. Everything is chaotic in a way. And we don't really know what do we want to do. See, how long are we going to be on planet Earth? The life expectancy, I think, is usually maybe 70, 80, 90 years old. So within these 70, 80, 90 years, maybe some of us 100 years, what do we want to accomplish before we leave? What do we want to accomplish which is long lasting on our value? And that is truly successful. So Master Choa actually recommended to divide our life into certain categories and to have certain goals or purposes or objectives based on these different categories. Because if we don't know what we want to achieve, as we shared, we're not really going to get there. Every ship needs to have a destination. If it doesn't have a destination, it's just going to be rolling around the sea, and eventually it's going to run out of gas, fuel. What's going to happen? It's going to sink, which means it doesn't accomplish anything. Okay, so Master Choa shared, number one, that we need to have certain goals or objectives when it comes to relationships. And this is what we refer to as being successful in your relationships, being abundant in your relationships. And remember, this is not just having a lot of people, but having people who actually mean something, to have love, to have compassion, people you can trust. So every one of us should have certain relationship objectives as well. So if you're single, for example, and you say, you know what, I would like to have a loving partner. So that could be one of your objectives. Now, if you're a parent and you would like to improve the relationship between your children, between you and your husband or your wife, that could be a particular goal. Or sometimes it could mean improving your relationships, having abundance of love, respect, and joy amongst co-workers. So definitely relationships are one area of our life that we can strive to be successful. The second is our health. As we shared earlier, what's the use of having everything if the health is suffering all the time? You can't enjoy any other aspect of your life. So definitely one measure of success would be to have a healthy body. And that is something that we need to have as our goal or as our objective as well. Okay, a little bit later, we'll talk about what we can do to achieve this from the pranic healing perspective. So definitely good health. By the way, good health doesn't mean lose weight. Sometimes in India, that's the idea, no? Well, of course, sometimes they say it's the opposite, no? If you've put on weight, they call you healthy. I never understood that concept, but they say this person is very healthy. I said, no, they're not healthy. Actually, but that's the term we use. That's a polite term, yeah? But remember, it's not about the weight. It's about being healthy, being fit, leading a healthy lifestyle, exercising regularly, eating right, and of course, everything in balance. Okay, so definitely we should have an objective to improve our health and to be successful in managing our health. Third, of course, our finances. That is super necessary. Remember, it's very difficult to take care of your family, to be loving, to be kind, to be nurturing, to go to the gym, to exercise, to meditate, if you cannot put food on the table. Or forget about that, if you don't have financial security. You see, not having money, sometimes we think we only equate it to being very, very poor. That is not necessarily the case. Even having financial stress leads to the person not having a good quality of life. And we'll talk about stress a little bit later. It's one of, along with COVID, stress is also one of the pandemics affecting the world today. So we need to take it very seriously. And fourthly, spiritual objective, being successful on the spiritual side. Because this is what we talk about when we say something long lasting. No matter how many people we have who are close to us, when we leave, we can't take them with us. No matter how fit and healthy and muscular the body we make, we cannot take the body with us. And no matter how many crores of rupees we have in the bank, we all know we can't take even a single penny with us. But what we do take from what we have learned from the different spiritual teachings, including Master Choa's books, is the spiritual development, the development of what we call the soul or our true nature. That is permanent, and that we can take. Okay, so of course, what do we mean by spiritual development is probably for another day, but that is something more permanent. So definitely each and every one of us should have a spiritual goal or spiritual objective. Now, how do you define that? Maybe we can talk a little bit more about that later. Okay, and of course, other goals, other measures of success. It could be broken down into smaller things. Like, I would like to have this project which is achieved on time. Or I would like to have, for example, certain skills developed. I'd like to learn how to drive a car. Or I'd learn how to speak French or anything at all. So we can always have other forms of goals or objectives to achieve a certain degree of success in. But let's not forget the four most important aspects of our life. Why? Because these are the things that really matter. These are the things that improve the quality of our life. And many people around the world, unfortunately, they are so, I would say, engrossed in improving the quantity of things in our life that they forget that quality is very, very important. Okay? So just take that in mind. Now, the question is, how can pranic healing help us to be more successful or more abundant to achieve these goals in these different areas of our life? So for those of you who are not pranic healers, to understand this, it's necessary to know a little bit more about pranic healing. Okay? So let's talk a little bit about that. So one of the things we have learned from pranic healing is there's more to us than meets the eye. Yes? What do we mean by this? So just like we have a body, a physical body that all of us can see in the camera, in the mirror, all different shapes and sizes and forms. Just like we have a physical body, we also have something which is called the energy body. So in certain books, it's also shown something like this. Of course, there are different variations. Yes, this is taken from the book of Master Choa. So we have something called an energy body. Now, this energy body is also known as the aura. In certain books, it's known as the bioplasmic body as well. Now, our physical body that you can see with your eyes and our energy body are super connected. You know, they're like this. They're almost like two sides of the same coin. They're interconnected. What do we mean by this? Whatever happens to the energy body has an effect on the physical body. And whatever happens to the physical body has an effect on the energy body. Okay? So in pranic healing, what we do is we focus on working on the energy body. Now, why do we work on the energy body? So this is how Master Choa explained it. He said that our energy body is like a mold. So I give an example. You have this bottle in front of you. Now, this bottle has a certain shape and a form, yes, certain quality. Now, in order to produce this bottle, what do you have in the factory? You have a mold which has this design. Now, if there's a defect in this bottle, if something is wrong with this bottle, what do? You change the mold. You change the design in the mold, the bottles that come out will be changed. So Master Choa explained that the energy body is something like the mold. The physical body is like the bottle. So whenever there is a problem in the physical body, you work on the energy body, which is more subtle than the physical body, thereby easier to manipulate, easier to change to a certain extent. The physical body follows. It's just a matter of time. Okay, so that's why in pranic healing we work with energy. Now, just like we have an energy body, we have an aura. We also have something that we call energy centers. In India, we call them chakras. I'm sure most of you are aware of this. Now, these chakras are really, really important. Why? Because just like in our physical body, we have certain vital organs, you know, like the brain, the lungs, the heart. In our energy body, we have what we call energy centers. So they are responsible for keeping the energy body healthy and correspondingly the physical body healthy as well. Okay? So how does it work? How does pranic healing really work? So this is especially for the non-pranic healers. You see, Master Choa shared that in general, our body is actually capable of healing itself. So would you agree with me that the body can heal itself? Yes? Can you give me an example? When have you seen the body heal itself? When someone has given you a, no, okay, I'm joking. Nobody's going to give you a nice slap. Why would anyone do that? So very common example that most of us know, like I think Maya shared that I like to cook, no? So when I'm in the kitchen and I'm cooking, once in a while, you cut yourself, yeah? Slicing the onion or whatever it is. Now, when you have a small cut, you don't necessarily run to the emergency room for that. You just wash it off and you leave it. Within a few hours or in a few minutes, the wound, if you observe, heals itself. Yes? Same thing with a fracture. You can see Rupal said fracture. You have a broken bone. Often when you have a fracture, you go to a doctor. What does the doctor do? The doctor basically puts you in a cast and tells you to do what? Wait. Wait for a few weeks. Wait for a few months. Why? The body will heal itself. The bone will heal itself. Now, if you take a chair, a plastic chair, you break the leg, you put it in a cast, and you wait for 3 months, would you see that the leg is rejoined? Now, that would be a miracle. Yeah? But it doesn't work like that. Why? Because in general, our body is capable of healing itself, capable of normalizing itself. Okay? And that's how pranic healing works. That's the basic principle of pranic healing. If the body could not do that, we couldn't use pranic healing at all. All right? Now, the question is, how does the body heal itself? What does it use to heal itself? Okay? Now, let me ask you a question. We have a physical body, yes? What is the physical body? What is this body made of? So don't tell me all the cells and all that. Basic things. Solid, liquid, and gas, no? Does your body have solid? Of course. Does your body have liquids? Most of it is liquid, no? Does your body have gas? Of course, some of us have more than others, but definitely our body has gas as well, different kinds, and we survive on gas, no? Now, doesn't our body survive on these three things? It does. We eat food, physical. We drink water, liquid. We breathe in air, gas, correct? So our body, which is made of these things, survives on these things. Similarly, our aura or energy body, which is made of energy, different kind of energy, also survives on energy. And that's what we call prana or chi or ki. So that's the second main concept or principle in pranic healing, that for the body to be alive, the body requires life energy or life force. And when there is no life force or no life energy in the body dies. Why? Because the aura doesn't have its food. It will go. And because it's the mold for this body, the body will also go. Okay? That's why, as I mentioned, this life energy is known as prana in India, in Sanskrit. That's why if you go to certain people and you talk to them, when someone has passed away in their house, what do they say? In Hindi, there's a famous saying. They say, uske pran nikal gaye, uske pran chhoot gaye. My Hindi is not very good, I'm sorry. But they say something like that. So they don't say that the person, they just say that the energy, the prana has left them. So this pran leaving them is the life energy or the life force. So what happens is, whenever our body has less life energy, less life force, the body takes longer to heal itself. When the body has more life energy, more life force, it can heal itself faster. And that's exactly what we do in pranic healing. We increase the amount of life energy, life force, prana in our aura. By the aura, it goes into the physical body, and the body's natural healing ability gets accelerated. It's as simple as that. Okay? I'm sure some of you are wondering, so what does this have to do with prosperity, with my relationships? Well, it does. So already from a health point of view, if you have certain health objectives to get healthy, pranic healing is very, very beneficial, because it can help treat many severe chronic cases, which maybe sometimes even with modern medicine, there's no cure. But with pranic healing, you can really, really make a difference. So if you talk to many pranic healers who have been treating people for all kinds of ailments, like asthma, like diabetes, like high blood pressure, like kidney failure, especially even COVID, there have been tremendous recoveries in that. Okay? Why? Because you're working on the energy. All right? So this is a little bit about pranic healing. Now let's get into how this connects to our success or our abundance. Yeah. Now, this energy body of ours, this aura, it's almost like, let me give an example, modern example. Look at your mobile phone. I'm sure everybody has a mobile phone, no? Cell phone. Now, it has a certain battery capacity, yes? 100%. Now, what do most of us do? When we sleep at night, you charge your phone at night. You wake up in the morning, 100%. Then you use it all day. You go out. Of course, pre-COVID times, you go out, you go to your office, you go to market, you do this, you do that, you use your phone. Now, what happens sometimes, and I'm sure some of you experience this, by the evening or the afternoon, your battery is down to, let's say, 5%, and you're still stuck out somewhere. You don't have a charger and you don't have a power bank, but you need to get home in some time. Now, most of us, when we're in that situation, when the battery in the phone is low, we can't charge it up. What do we do to the phone? We switch off the unnecessary apps. We put it on power saving mode. Maybe sometimes we stop data. We just use the phone only for calls and urgent messages until we can get somewhere to charge the phone. Now, my friends, most of us are functioning like this. We wake up in the morning, we are refreshed, we are recharged, we are full of energy. We work the whole day. By the evening, battery is down. We come home, we eat food, we watch TV, we sleep. Next day, same thing. You see, many of us have goals. How many of you have thought, I would like to do this project in my life. I'd like to go and travel to this place in my life. I'd like to one day go and learn this thing in my life. But many times it doesn't happen that easily. Why? We're so caught up with what's happening in our daily life. Now, one of the things you have to realize is everybody has a certain amount of energy, and that energy gets used up. But everybody has 24 hours in the day. Even the most successful person in the world who's doing many, many things has 24 hours in the day. We have 24 hours. One of the major differences is the size of the aura and the energy body. Now, if I told you, you could take your mobile phone and instead of having 100% battery capability, you could make it 500%. What will you do with that? You can do much, much more. You can do multiple things on your phone. You can watch videos, listen to music, download things, do your emails, everything. So when we use pranic healing techniques to increase the size of our aura, energy body, effectively we have more energy. So that's one of the things that I personally noticed. When I started to practice the techniques of pranic healing, I found that my productivity increased. I was able to do much more in a shorter period of time. I was able to handle my business responsibilities within the time. At the same time, I had time to exercise. I had time to spend time with the family, take care of the family, as well as enjoy my life, do my meditation and do my practices. Whereas earlier, just to finish a few tasks would take me the whole day, and we would tend to procrastinate and put it off. So that's when I realized that energy has a lot to do with it, because everything uses up energy. Everything consumes energy. And think about it. When you have to sometimes sit and think of a plan or a project, your mind gets tired, no? Have you observed that? Not only your body gets tired, but for some of you, the mind gets tired. It's like you can't think anymore. Somebody will say, hey, let's talk about this. Say, let's think about it later. I'm mentally tired. That also consumes energy. What about in relationships? Have you not observed that sometimes when you're having a fight with someone, you know that you have to patch things up, but you're so exhausted because of the fighting, you have no emotional energy left. It's like the love has gone down, you have nothing more to give. That is also energy. And by the way, that causes breaks in relationships. So everything requires energy. To have a healthy body, you need energy. To have success in your work, you need energy, because that affects your productivity. To have loving, meaningful relationships, long-lasting relationships, you need energy. Why? Because they take work. Not relationships are not smooth. They take work. And to be able to achieve your other goals and aspirations, you need energy. And of course, to grow spiritually, Master Choa said, spiritual development requires energy as well. Okay? So the knowledge of the energy body is very, very necessary. Why? Because it influences what we are able to accomplish in our life. It influences the fuel needed to accomplish the goals. Some of us have fantastic plans, great ideas, no result. Why? Not enough energy. It's like you have the most beautiful business plan, but you don't have the working capital to fund your plan. It doesn't get done. So the energy aspect really fills the whole thing. Now, why chakras? Why the energy centers? Because some of you have done pranic healing, you know that our chakras, they affect the different organs in our body. Yeah. Some of it affects the brain, the lungs, the heart, whatever. But these same chakras also have psychological impacts on us. So when a person is, for example, some people have a tendency to procrastinate. Have you noticed that? They say they'll do something and say, okay, I'll do it tomorrow. And tomorrow comes, I'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow comes, I'll do it tomorrow. After 1 year, I'll do it tomorrow. It doesn't happen. Now, Master Choa said that our tendencies, our behaviors, our moods are also determined by the condition of our energy centers or chakras. So when we work on ourselves, when we work on developing our chakras, we're able to bring out much, much more in us. All right. So I'll share with you a story. And this is more to do with the financial part. So once I was in Nigeria, some of you are familiar with the country, and I was in the Pranic Healing Centre there. I was there for a few classes. And we had a Pranic Healer who came to visit us. And he said that, he's having some financial problems. So I said, okay, what's your problem? So just to give you a short glimpse of the story, he said that, he does projects for people's houses. He installs certain things. So he had taken money for a certain project to install in a lady's house who's a big customer. And before he could execute the project, he has already used up the money for something else. He had an emergency. Now the lady is asking for the product, and he has no money to deliver it. And if he doesn't do it, he can be in big, big problem. And he's been having this kind of an issue going on for a while. So I said, okay, what can I do for you? I can't give you the money. He says, can you give me, what can you suggest? So I remember Master Choa, he would always say that, get healing done. Even if you have a financial problem, any problem or anything happening in your life externally depends on your internal condition. So if something is not right inside, it will manifest in your life outside. And from a pranic healing point of view, we know it as imbalances in the aura and in the energy centers or chakras. So what did I do? I said, okay, you know what? Let's try something. I asked him to sit down, and I started to scan him. So, we have a technique called scanning where you can feel a person's aura, feel the energy centers. So, of course, I scanned him and I found the aura was weak. And I found that there was a lot of stress energy in his system. So, of course, he was stressed. Yes? Now, let me ask you a question. When a person is stressed out, some of you have experienced tremendous stress. Are you able to think clearly when you're under stress? Does the mind function with clarity? No, it's very difficult. And we'll see a little later why that happens. So when we are under stress, when we're under tension, and many of us, we've seen this, when we're under tremendous stress, we get angry with somebody and we shout at them. Later, we say, why did I behave like that? If only I had just controlled myself a little bit, I would have avoided the situation becoming so bad. Yes, sounds familiar? It happens. Sometimes it's on your email. The anger will go with a stinking email to somebody. Then later we're like, if I had just calmed down before I send that email. So why? Stress, these negative emotions, they have an impact on our ability to think clearly and act clearly. Now, if this person is undergoing a financial problem, he's under tremendous stress, it's going to be very difficult for him to find a solution to his problem. So I told him, you have a lot of stress. Then I was scanning the other energy centers that are connected to your ability to be successful, to be prosperous. And that was weak in his system as well. So I said, okay, you know what, let's do some healing for you. And at the same time, I said, why don't you practice the meditation on twin hearts as we're doing healing? Because, as you know, meditation on twin hearts generates a lot of good karma, and it also helps to relieve stress from the system. It cleans out your aura, your energy centers as well. So I said, okay. He said, okay. So he was doing his twin hearts and healing was done for him. After the healing session, he felt much better. He felt much more inner peace, much more calmness, much more positivity. So I said, okay, you can go. And I said, by the way, before you go, you're in a tough situation. By the way, he was a pranic healer. So I said, the law of karma, it is in giving that you receive. Why don't you give some money to charity and hopefully the good karma can come back to you? So he immediately removed a little bit of money and he put it in the tithing box of the center to support the center. And he went. Then I said, you know what, why didn't I was there for a few more days. I said, come back after 2 days. Let's do one more session before I go back to my country. So he came back. Then I went away. Then I came back to that city after several months and he happened to come again. And I remembered him and I said, hey, how was your problem now? That's when he shared to me what happened. Now, this is amazing. He said that when he went back after a few days, the lady who he was supposed to install the product in the house had to suddenly travel. And because she had to suddenly travel, she did not want the job done now. She gave him about a month more. And in that month, suddenly he had more business that came in. So he was able to take that business, make profit, and use that profit to then pay off that lady's work as well. So his problem was solved. Now, what changed? Number one, when the stress is out of your system, you're able to think clearly and find solutions. Number two, when you have enough energy in your aura, you're able to execute. So you're able to get it done. And number three, when you have good karma, you have good luck. Things happen to you. So it's a combination of those three things. So for me, this person's healing, it was almost like financial healing, but it was miraculous. So pranic healing was able to give him more success. So that's when I started to realize that there's a lot more to this. So whenever I have a challenge in my business or I'm having a difficult time with a project, I like to do healing on myself using pranic healing and using the other techniques as well. Okay. By the way, I hope I didn't ask him for a commission. I should have asked him for some commission. No, I'm just joking. Okay, so that's our energy body. Now, moment. So how do we achieve success? Let's look at a roadmap. Whether it's success in your work, whether it's success in your relationships, whether it's success in your spiritual development, whether it's success even in your, your health, you want to achieve something. Generally, now there are many ways you can go about this. I am not an expert in success. There are people who are much more successful than me, although remember there's no competition, but maybe in their own growth, individual growth. But I can share to you a few common things that we see with people who are successful. Number one, they have a goal. They have an objective. Yeah, look at Master Choa. When he gave us pranic healing to the world, he had a goal. He said 1 pranic healer per family within a certain amount of time. So he had a goal. Don't forget the goal was time bound. So sometimes some of us have goals that, I want to one day be married. Okay, by when? By the age of 90. Or in the next 5 years. Or one day I would like to have my own house. Very good. When? So the time is very, very important. So try to make your goals time bound. Why? Because that gives you a motivation to work towards it. Otherwise, it's just going to get procrastinated. Okay. So the first thing to achieving success, whether it's big success or small success, doesn't matter. In any area of your life is to have a goal. And Master Choa used to recommend to write it down actually. So write it down. This is what I would want by when. Now the next thing is, in many cases, not in all cases, but in many cases, you would need a plan. How are you going to achieve that? So say you want to have your own house by 5 years' time. How are you going to get it? How much money do you need to save? How is that money going to come? Do you need to invest somewhere to get a certain return to be able to fund the house? So you need to have a plan in place. Now, planning requires energy as well, as I told you, mental energy. Okay, so here again, you need energy. So you need to have a good plan. Then you need to have commitment to the plan. Now, how many of us have achieved success in our life without any obstacles? Do all plans always work 100%? Really? You think so? No chance. Most of the time, the moment you start a project, you start something, you start working on something, there is obstacle. Let's take getting fit. If some of you decide, hey, in the next 1 year, I want to be able to run 5 kilometers. Now, every day you're not so motivated. No, some days you're motivated. Some days you have no motivation. There's always up and down. Same thing with relationships. Some days you're in super love, you're super forgiving. Some days you're ready to do God knows what. That's life. So there's a certain commitment that's needed to be able to be successful in anything. The people that are successful in achieving something, they have what we call perseverance. They're able to keep going. And the ability to keep going has to a certain extent to do with your emotional commitment. How much do you want this? Now that emotional commitment needs emotional energy. Okay. So those of you who are pranic healers, you know how the different energy centers are sources of these different kinds of energies. So when a certain motivation is lacking, you know which energy center to work on to make it stronger. So it gives you the boost. Okay. Now, some of us, we have goals, we have good plans, we have the desire, we want to do it, but we don't act. We just sit on our bum doing nothing. So we also need resources and action. So resources is having, now by the way, resources is not for everybody. You don't always need lots of money or lots of resources. Certain things you can accomplish even with minimal resources, but you need action. And that's the very, very important thing. You need to act on it. You need to get up and work for it. So if you want to, for example, let's say exercise every day. You have a goal, I want to run 5 kilometers in 1 year. You have a good plan. Every day I'm going to exercise for 30 minutes. You're committed because you're looking at your goal every day. You have resources. You have a pair of shoes. Of course, you cannot run without a pair of shoes. So you need some resources. You have a pair of shoes. You have a nice watch or a decent watch to track your kilometers. But after having all of this, you have to go out and run. You have to go out and exercise. Yeah. There's some people I've seen, they're very good in planning. They're very good in having everything ready. But for certain reasons, they're unable to take the first step. And that requires a certain degree of courage and action. And what we know is it requires energy as well in certain energy centers. So as you can see from this, to be successful in anything, you require different forms of energy, different types of energy. And we know from pranic healing that these different types of energy are connected to the different energy centers or chakras. So whenever, for example, I have people who come to me and they say that, they are not able to achieve this, not able to achieve that. So it's good to ask them, what is the obstacle? What is stopping you? Is it that you don't know what to do? Point number 2. Or is it that you know what to do, but you keep giving up? Point number 3. Or is it that you know what to do, you're driven, but you don't have certain things to get it done? Point number 4. Or is it that all of that, but somehow you're just not able to find the will to get up and go and work? Point number 5. So then we scan them. We check which are the energy centers that are weak. We work on it and the person transforms. So pranic healing, as we showed, is a lot to do with working on our chakras, energy centers, which are connected to how we behave, how we feel, how we think, how we act. Why? Because they're connected to these different kinds of energies in our system. Okay? So this is a general roadmap. Of course, there are variations, there are combinations as well. But in general, to be successful, these 5 things are usually needed. As I said, point number 4, it depends. In some cases, you don't need too many resources as well. All right? Good. I'll stop here to check if you have any questions before we move on. Elements. Okay. So nobody has questions. No? Very good. So I've been successful in making sure there are no questions up till now. That was my goal. I had a good plan. Keep talking so I don't give you time. And I was committed to it as well. Okay. I'm just joking. All right. Let's move on. Now, Most people, the aura is something like this. I'm sure you've seen this image. I shared with you that most of us, not most of us, but people around the world, they're stressed out. You go to most of the big cities in the world, you walk downtown, you will feel that people are always in a hurry. They don't even have the time to even stop and say hello or be polite. Why? It's not really their fault as well. Most people are stressed out. Most people are irritable. They're sometimes worried. They have tensions. And of course, because of all this, it just keeps compounding and the condition becomes worse. So for many people around the world, many of us, the aura is actually something like this. So it looks dirty, lack of clarity. Now remember, when our aura, our energy field, which is all around us and inside us, is so dirty, how do we see things clearly? How are we supposed to be successful? We can't even see things clearly to have the right goals and right visions. We can't plan properly. Our emotions are so stuck with stress, worry that we don't have that excitement to achieve our goal. And all of these things have a draining effect that by the end of the day, we don't have the physical strength to even achieve our goals. So no wonder most people find it difficult to achieve their goals and be successful. Now, pranic healing shows us that it doesn't have to remain like this. The goal, our aim, is actually to have an aura or an energy field, something like this, which is clean, which is bright, which is full of energy. Now, when we have an aura like this, it makes life easier. We're able to have the clarity of mind that we're looking for. We're able to have the emotional strength to keep going. We're able to have a clear vision of what is our goal, and we have the energy to accomplish that goal. Okay? And interestingly, the resources we need start to come to us as well. Why? Because whatever is within our aura is what we tend to attract. And by the way, that's what they call the law of attraction. All right? So that is the goal. And we have through pranic healing the techniques that enable us to transform our aura and change it. And by the way, these are not things you have to believe. You experiment, you practice it, you scan, you check, you validate. Then you observe your life. If life is improving, if life is changing, then you can say, okay, this works. If it's not, forget about it. What do you waste? Just a few hours or a few days of your life. That's it. Okay? So as Master Trust said, the condition of our chakras, the energy centers, they affect your prosperity. So I shared with you the story of the man in Nigeria. It was exactly that case. His chakras were malfunctioning, and because of that condition, he was not able to get out of his financial problem, and he was facing financial losses. You change the energy, you change the chakra condition, the person's financial situation also changed as well. All right, so let's sum this up. What are the factors that we require to be successful? Now let's take back the story of the man in Nigeria. So number one, healing was done on him. So that is the condition of the energy body and the chakras. First, that was fixed. Second, he generated good karma. Now, how did he generate good karma? Number one, by doing Twin Hearts meditation. Number two, he gave charity, he gave tithing. So when you learn pranic healing, you learn how you can use this natural law to actually generate lots and lots of good karma. Okay, so he generated the good karma that is needed to be successful. You see, people who are always wishing bad for other people, they're always complaining as well. You might notice that. But people who are thinking good for other people are usually happier. That is a law of karma. The third factor is to have our plans and targets. Remember, we need to have goals. We need to have a good plan in place. And number four, we need to be focused. That is that emotional commitment. So to achieve anything in your life, you need to have focus. Now, why is focus necessary? You see, this guy was really focused. He came twice for the healing and he went straight to solving his problem. Now, many of us, even though we are generating a lot of energy, we're getting healing done, we're doing our meditations, we're doing our tithing, we're generating good karma, we have a good plan. One thing that we might lack, which is stopping us from being successful, is our ability to focus. And I was one of the biggest victims of this. Even when I was starting off in my business career, I was doing too many things. And when you do too many things, you're not able to focus on one thing and do it really well and be successful at it. So maybe sometimes Master Trust said not to have too many goals. That's why you have 4 to 5 main goals and you focus on that. Everything requires time, requires energy. So Master Trust shared that, if you look at steam in an open space just scatters. But that same steam, which if you release in an open space that just scatters, that same steam can be used to drive an engine of a train. Why? Because it gets concentrated and focused to push the engine. So the steam is super powerful. It's the same thing with our energy. If we are always wasting our energy in doing things that are not necessary, we lose a lot of the energy. It goes here, it goes. Then we're wondering, hey, I'm doing so much meditation, I'm doing so much planning and everything, but nothing happens. Why? We spend a good amount of the day thinking of nonsense, lots of Facebook, social media, TV. That is good, but don't overdo it. Why? You lose the energy. And always keep the eye on the goal. Be focused on what you want to achieve. Of course, with enjoying life at the same time. This enables the energy you have in your aura to go towards achieving your goal and your objective. Now, one of the techniques Master Choa taught us, which we can even talk about, on how to focus this energy is by blessing. Do not underestimate the power of blessing. Every time you do your meditation on Twin Hearts, at the end of your Twin Hearts, take those 30 seconds to focus the energy you have generated to bless your goals and objectives. It has a tremendous power of making what you think into a reality. All right. Now, I'll give an example. Before you manifest anything, let's say you want to manifest a beautiful job, or you want to manifest a house or a car, or your children getting married. Anything you want to manifest starts with the thought. Think about it. Let's look at the cell phone. Now you have a mobile phone. This is manifested. It exists. It's created. Before this mobile phone was created, in the mind of some engineer was a thought that I'm going to make this mobile phone. It's going to have this feature, this. It starts with the thought. Then the thought comes into a plan. So they have a blueprint, a design. Then they have the engineers who will come and make it. And the money comes in to supply the parts, the resources. And of course, there will be lots of trial and error. So they have to be committed until finally it's produced and you have a physical form. Now, what is one of the major factors that takes the thought into becoming a reality? The thought in the mind of the engineer became a physical reality in the form. One of the things is the willpower, the focus. You have to get it done. You have to get it done. And all the other factors. So many of us have wishes, we have dreams, we have things we want to achieve in our life, want to be successful. But it's not always becoming a physical reality. We need to incorporate all these elements, then we can make it a physical reality. Now, there are ways to accelerate it. There are ways to do it, let's say not in 5 years, but sooner. And that's what we call the science of creating thoughts that are super powerful. Thoughts that can become a physical reality much quicker. And that's what Master Choa calls Kriya Shakti. So some of you might have taken that course. Basically, it's the science of getting things done much quicker in a way. Okay, but that's for another day. All right. So start with what you want to achieve, what you want to be successful in, what you want in abundance. Have a goal, have an objective. Make it time bound. Number two, have a plan in place. Sometimes you need help. So maybe if you're not very good at planning, get a friend who's good in planning and say, listen, can you help me plan this out for me? Have a plan in place. 3, have that emotional commitment. If you find that emotionally you're not so committed, get healing done for you. Number 4, check what you need to make the plan happen. Do you need people? Do you need money? Do you need something? And 5, as they say in Nike, just do it. Get going. And if you find that you don't have the strength to do it, get pranic healing done as well. Okay? So pranic healing can really, really impact your body, your system, to be able to give you the energy on all these different levels as well. All right. It sounds very easy, and it's not as easy as that, because there will be challenges. But at the same time, it is as simple as that. Why? It's all connected to our energy body in our system. So what can we do with pranic healing? So number 1, you learn how to clean your auras and chakras. So we remove a lot of the dirty energy, the negative energies, the negative thoughts and emotions that obstruct us from being able to achieve what we want and from being able to think clearly. Number 2, we learn how to create powerful thoughts. So one of the techniques you know already is by blessing. But as I shared, there are more higher techniques as well. Number 3, you get a deeper understanding of what we call the law of karma. So remember, the law of karma is the basis behind many things. So we need that good karma to be able to achieve success and abundance. Number 4, you learn how to sharpen your mind. Remember, to be good in planning, to be good in thinking and seizing opportunities, your mind needs to be sharp. So one of the things Master Choa shared with us is certain techniques to make the brain function better. We have things like super brain yoga. We have things like advanced meditations, which really help to make your brain super sharp. So there's no reason why every year we can't be more and more intelligent and sharper. And that is needed to be successful, especially in the modern world. And number 5, we have techniques to develop our willpower. Because without will, we won't focus and we won't keep going until we hit the goal and hit the target. Okay. Now, Pranic Healing gives you one more thing. And I've seen this happen through the meditation on twin hearts. So this is the added edge that you would have as a Pranic Healer and a meditator when you want to achieve things. And this is what we call the faculty of intuition. How many of you have heard of the word intuition? Yeah? What do we mean by intuition? If you could share with me. What is your understanding of intuition? When we say intuition, is it the next lottery number that is going to be released, or someone you don't want to see, you've been avoiding, suddenly comes in front of you and oh my God, I knew I'm going to see this person. What is intuition exactly? Gut feeling, okay? Gut is down there, no? Okay, interesting. Anybody else? Just knowing, interesting. Inner voice. So if you're hearing voices in your head, that could be hallucination or intuition, one of the two. Hopefully it's intuition. Subconscious mind indicating, okay, interesting. So I'll keep it very brief because we don't have the time to go into details. But one of the ways of understanding intuition is, as somebody shared, direct knowing. You know, when you know something without having to spend a lot of time collecting information, collecting data, experimenting, you just know. So certain businessmen have a highly developed intuition. They look at certain business deals and they just know this is the right one. Certain healers have intuition. They're working on a patient, and as they're healing, they can just know that, hey, the problem is caused because of this. In this part of the body, in this chakra, they work over there, the person gets healed. Certain mothers have intuition. You know, they call it mother's intuition. They just know what's wrong with the child or what the child needs. Now, intuition is also sometimes known as inner guidance. So when you're guided internally in relation to success, in terms of what can you do to be successful. So intuition is a very, very useful faculty. Why? Because when you have inner guidance, when you have intuition, you're given solutions to problems where you don't have to spend a long time hunting for the solution. It just comes. You seize upon it and your life can transform. You can get there much faster. And intuition is a faculty of what we call the crown chakra, the crown energy center, which we develop in the meditation on twin hearts. So I'll share with you a story which will help to show you how intuition helped the person. So this is a very old story, once again, from my Africa days. So there was this gentleman who learned Pranic Healing. He did the basic, advanced, and the psychotherapy courses, and in the center in where I was in West Africa. And after that, he went to France. He went to Paris. I think it was Paris, but he went to France. And he got a job over there. He was busy with life. He didn't practice much. He did the courses and he went. And after a few years, some of you are aware that in the year 2008, there was the massive financial crisis. So he also lost his job. So number one, he lost his job. So he had money problem. Number two, because he didn't have a job, he didn't have the required documentation to be legally in the country. So he was risking being deported. And number three, he would soon not have the money to pay rent and have a home to live in. So he was in a bad situation. So he phoned up his friend in Africa who brought him into Pranic Healing, who works at the center. And he said, can you help me? So he was asking for money. So this gentleman said, I don't have much money and I can't send you any money. But what I can suggest to you is, why don't you find a center nearby and do the meditation on twin hearts every day? He explained to him the benefits. Your stress will go down, you'll have more clarity, you'll get in good karma, all of that. Now this guy had faith. So he decided to go and start doing the meditation on twin hearts. So he found a center and he would meditate there on a regular basis. And of course, in his mind, he would always be praying for a solution to his problem. Now, one of the meditations, and this is the story he shared with his friend who didn't share it with me. He said that in one of his meditations, he saw an image of an oriental looking man. And this man gave him a certain number. And luckily, in his meditation, he was able to remember the number. As soon as he finished the meditation, he wrote it down. Now, it was obvious it was a phone number. So after the meditation, he called up this person, the phone number, with an idea that, this might be a solution to my problem. It was answered by a French guy, And he said, why are you calling? He said, I'm calling regarding a job. So the French guy, he said, how did you know I have a job opening? I haven't put it out yet to the public. It's not advertised. So of course, I don't think he wanted to share that he got his number in the meditation. He'll automatically say, there's the Pagal Khana, he just, I think, told them something else, like maybe somebody shared it or something like that. So he said, okay, why don't you come for an interview and we can see. Now, to cut the long story short, this person went for the interview, he got the job, his papers were taken care of, and the employer provided accommodation as well. His problem was solved. There was inner guidance that he received through the meditation practice. Remember, when the crown chakra is open, you have inner guidance and insights that come through. For him, it was in the form of a solution to his problem. And after some time, he actually phones up his friend in Africa to share the story. And he says, this is what happened to me. So his friend was curious to know who was the person who gave him the number. So he said, who was the person in your meditation? He said, I don't know. It's an Oriental, Asian-looking person. So he said, do you have your Pranic Healing books? He said, yeah, it's somewhere in the house. He said, can you just go and take a look? Now, when this man opened the book, he saw the photo of Master Choa Hoksui. He recognized the person in his meditation. He gave him a solution to his problem. Now, of course, his friend in Africa, who has been doing Pranic Healing for many years, was very jealous. He said, I've been meditating for so many years. I don't get to see Master Choa in the meditation. Yet, that's when, we sort of realize that, listen, when we need help, help comes through. When we need guidance, guidance will come through. Not for our pleasure, but for really helping us. So one of the added edges to be successful in life, especially in challenging times, is to develop the crown chakra, to develop the faculty of inner guidance. Because when you have that, it's like you have an extra, I would not say weapon in your armor, but you have an extra tool in your cupboard to really help you be successful. Yeah, Master Choa said that people who have a highly developed intuition, they will tend to become leaders. They'll be super successful. Why? They know how to get there much faster. And to do this, one of the best things that we know is the meditation on twin hearts. So you're really recommended to practice it on a regular basis. Develop your crown chakra, develop your intuition, clean out your aura as well. All right. So that is what I would like to share. And to end the talk, I'd like to share just a parting word, which is linked to what I was sharing. In this current world of stress, we can use every tool available to improve the quality of our life. Every single help, every single technique available to us is priceless. So let's not wait and see for the next pandemic, for the next world crisis. Then I will find the solution. Empower yourself now. See, Pranic Healing is an empowerment. When you know the techniques, you know the tools, you can apply them when you're in a challenging situation. And you can start to apply them to avoid being in a challenging situation. So don't wait for 70, 80, 90 years to go by and regret that we haven't really got the best. Act now and really improve the quality of your life, your health, your wealth, your relationships, and your spiritual development. It's actually in your own hands. And the best way to start this actually is the journey of basic Pranic Healing. So if you haven't really taken the basic Pranic Healing course, just start with that. Go with an open mind. And, when I learned basic Pranic Healing, I actually went to the class to come back and tell my family that, it doesn't work. It's all some sort of superstitious type of thing. I was born and brought up in Africa, so I did not believe in any of this. Of course, when I went for the class and I could feel the energy, I could see the energy. All of us are trained for that. You can do that. When I started to apply the healing and I could see people getting better, that's when I said, listen, everything is energy and it's really, really necessary for us. So I would really invite you to attend the upcoming basic Pranic Healing class. I think there's one happening in Cochin. Is it in Cochin, Maya? If I'm not mistaken.
It's in Trivandrum.
Trivandrum. Oh, wonderful. Excellent. So do make sure you attend and, definitely empower yourself. Empower yourself. Don't wait and delay things which are of value is what I would like to share. So Atma Namaste to everyone. Think, be positive. You can be successful. You just have to go for it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I invite Preeti. Preeti, are you able to unmute yourself? Can you...
Of course, if you have questions, you're most welcome to ask them. I hope you have no questions.
Can you hear me, Preeti?
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Please go ahead, Preeti. You're again unmuted. I mean, muted. Yeah.
Namaste, sir. Thank you for this wonderful session.
Namaste, ma'am. Please don't call me sir. I'll call you ma'am.
Thank you for this wonderful session. Thank you for sharing your knowledge in how to set a goal and how to achieve success, and how pranic healing helps in this way. What is success and what is not success? What is the route map to success, and all this valuable knowledge you shared within this short period of time. We are all blessed to have this session, to attend this session, and I hope this session will encourage many people to join the pranic healing and to take it in the right sense, and also to pranic healers who are not that regular in the practice of pranic healing to practice more. That is why we are conducting this kind of nurturing sessions, and this session is aptly doing our aim. So thank you very much, sir, for this, for your kind heart to attend this, to accept your invitation and coming for this nurturing session. And thank you very much.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you all participants for their time you spend here to know more about pranic healing and how it works on your life for the betterment of your life, and also for getting rich or prosperous or successful in all aspects of your life. Thank you for your curiosity and time invested in this session. I hope the time you invested here actually worth it. Thank you all. We have an upcoming basic pranic healing course in Trivandrum. Whoever can join this session, please join. It is a wonderful opportunity to get into the big system of pranic healing, and it is the first step you can take to know the energy world, and it will teach you how to cure diseases. It will teach you how to clean your aura and how to better your prana or life energy in your system, which will reflect in your life, different aspects of your life, and which is in turn improve your productivity. In this time of COVID pandemic, it will also enable you to help others with your pranic healing techniques, and I hope many of you will attend this session, and we are waiting to see you there at the venue. Thank you all. And you can, if you are not from Trivandrum, you can also contact us to know more about the courses near your area, or you can also go to the World Pranic Healing Foundation website to know more about the Pranic Healing Centers near you. And please go and attend, try to attend the pranic healing courses. It will definitely beneficial for you, and also for your family, and those who all know you will be benefited. That's the highlight of this course. And thank you all once again. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Varghese. Thank you, Maya, for
I think there's a question, Gautam, by
Yes.
Sunita. She says, I have only one question. It is about goals. I feel that I'm not able to come up with goals for myself, or I'm not convinced with what I come up with. What could I do about this, please?
Not able to come up with
Goals.
For myself. One moment, I'm trying to read the question.
It is slightly up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Sunita,
it's about goals. I feel like I'm not able to come up with goals for myself, and I'm not convinced with what I should come up with. What could I do about that, please? That's a very good question, actually, because sometimes the problem is, what should I aim for? What should be my goal? So I think one of the best things that we can start with is maybe sit down with a piece of paper and write down the 4 things: health, family, relationships, finances, and your development. Then when you come to health, you break it down and say, okay, what for you is good health? Do you want to have a fitter body? If you have a disease or an ailment, do you want to be healed of it? So definitely I would say from the health side, if you have an ailment, that should be your first goal, to be well, to be healed. Like if you have high blood pressure, say within 1 year's time or 2 years' time or whatever time, my blood pressure should be normal. I should be off medication. I should be well. So you can set first health goals in terms of what you want to achieve for your body. Yeah. Then when it comes to relationships, take it step by step. Okay, look at the relationships in your life and first think of which relationships can be improved upon. So if you have, for example, a good relationship with your husband or your wife, but maybe with your parent, it's not very good. So one of your goals can be, I want to harmonize a relationship with my mother or my father within a year's time or 2 years' time. Well, that's one of my goals. Okay, so that's another goal. Or if your relationship goal could be that, maybe you would want to get out of a difficult relationship, which is really a difficult thing. My goal is to get out of that relationship, or with your loved one. So go to relationships and identify what you need to improve and break it down like that. So breaking things down into these 4 categories helps you to identify what you want, which will improve your life. Same thing for finances. So even for finances, one of the ways you can have a goal is how much savings do you have? Master Choa would recommend to have savings. So you should plan your finances such that if you don't have to work for a few years, you have enough savings. So he would say, work, save money, so you have 1 year's worth of expenses. Then you have 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. So that's one of the ways you can set your financial goals of how much money you need to have for a rainy or a difficult day. How do you do that? Based on your expenses. What is your rent? What is this? So look at finances separately. How much money do I need every month to survive? Okay, I need to start saving for that and building a nice, bank balance. And then if you want to buy a house, maybe that could be a goal. So just take it step by step. If you try to look at everything together, you will get confused. You may not even be sure, is this good or not? So take it segment by segment, look at what's important for you, what you need, and then you can set goals based on that. Yeah, and of course, you might notice that maybe after a while that your goals change because you've achieved something and you say, okay, now I realize this is more important. That's okay. But you'll see that because of that, you're practicing and you're moving ahead. You're getting happier and happier. So my suggestion is start with these 4 things and then take it from there. Yeah. And by the way, if you're still having lack of clarity in terms of, okay, I don't know what I want, my suggestion is do the Twin Hearts meditation. Do that for maybe 1 or 2 months. The effect of the energy is it helps to bring more clarity in your mind. So definitely meditating at the same time would help. All right, great. Thank you all. Another question?
Thank you so much. I also take this opportunity to invite you to Kerala once again. Anytime once this COVID is over, please do visit.
Definitely. My wife has been to Kerala for beautiful holidays and she keeps telling me about the beauty of Kerala. And I have a lot of friends from Kerala. In Africa, we had lots and lots of friends from Kerala when I was there. So I've always heard the best things. Definitely so. Yes.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure. And see all of you very, very soon. If you haven't learned Pranic Healing, don't waste time, don't delay, and go for it.
Anybody has any questions or anything to add? I think you can unmute yourself. Right, Shubha? No. Okay. Can you unmute? You're not able to unmute? One sec.
I think she has.
Hear me now?
No question.
I think
at last we could unmute. Thank you, Maya.
I'm so sorry. Because I had. Okay.
No, I didn't have any question as such. Just wanted to thank Gautam Ailani for this wonderful session. Literally, the flow was so smooth and nice, and we could feel the energy in the entire session also. And I just don't miss any chance to hear you, Gautam, literally. And we have been sending the invite to all our friends and family to see that everyone comes and attends the session. Very, very beautiful session.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Gautam.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Savita here.
Yes, I can see.
Savita. Thank you, Gautam.
So
As
thank you all so
usual,
much.
your sessions are wonderful.
Thank you so much. Nice to see all of you. And we hope to see you soon physically.